Alright, hey guys, today is June 3rd, 2013, and this video is about how I knew I was transgender. I got this question quite a bit lately, and I believe it's because a lot of new subscribers I have and just new people watching. So to begin, I knew I was transgender at a younger age. Around 5th or 6th grade, I started realizing that I didn't really fit in with all the other girls, and at that time I identified as a lesbian, which eventually as I went about 5th and 6th grade, I started realizing things weren't exactly right, and I didn't feel the way that others felt about their bodies, like other girls, even if they didn't identify as, of the LGBT community. They didn't feel the same way that they felt like I felt about my body. They were comfortable with what they had, their breasts and whatever, and I was just never comfortable with mine. I hated it, and it was very awkward time of my life and for others. Eventually, I realized that it was impossible for me to continue life, in this body, in this way, and I started becoming very depressed about it. I also was very depressed about some other things that were going on in my life around that time. My parents divorced. I moved schools. I transferred schools and moved from a small farm town out in the middle of nowhere to a city, and some other things were going on in my life that was causing depression, so it wasn't just my uncomfortableness with myself. When I moved into a bigger school. There was approximately probably 300 people in the school that I was in prior to it. I would say 500 max people in that school, and then I transferred to the town next to me that was bigger, and the school was about 1,500 to about 2,000 kids. Much bigger community in school. I didn't really fit in that well there still. I sat alone and ate lunch alone quite a bit. I was a bit awkward and didn't really make friends until probably 7th or 8th grade. Around that time, I started finding out, that there were ways to kind of cope with my uncomfortableness with myself. I still didn't really understand what transgender meant because I never actually had access to the internet or anything where I lived all my life, which was out in the middle of nowhere, and I just didn't have the access to it. So transgender was kind of a word that didn't exist in my mind. Eventually, I did find out what the word meant, but it was later in life, later in the school years. It was not in 6th grade. So, beginning of 8th grade, I, started trying to change how I saw myself, and tried to change my ways of dressing and ways of coping with myself. I started trying to reach out more to get help with the mental problems and the depression and things that I was dealing with at that time. Of course, once that all kind of went by, I went on into 9th and 10th grade, and over the summer of 10th grade, I completely realized, what transgender meant, and that it meant me, and that, I no longer, knew that I had really ever identified with the lesbian community. It just meant, at that time, something to me because I was like, in 6th grade, I was like, hey, I'm a girl that likes other girls, so lesbian fits that, gay, whatever, that fits that. So, I didn't really understand exactly what I was at that time, obviously, because I just didn't have that knowledge. Once I did find that knowledge over the 10th grade summer, I realized this is what I want to do. And I made up my mind instantly because I knew that, I couldn't go on living life that way or this way. And it became a very depressing, very complicated thing to deal with day to day. It took a lot of energy for me to get up and look at myself and be happy with what I saw in the mirror. I was very unhappy. Not just the way that you would be unhappy if you're overweight, but I mean the way that you would be unhappy as, I cannot change this. No matter what I do, I can't change it. Kind of unhappy. Like nothing can fix this kind of unhappy. So, that unsettling unhappiness drug me down. It consumed me and consumed my life. And, I was struggling with a lot of other things too, so these things also consumed me, and I hit a bad depression 10th grade year, and then over the summer, I started coming back up out of it. I got some really good help and, put on medications for it. And then once I started kind of regaining my ability to think clearly again, I realized this feeling still hasn't went away. Why? And then I started researching, transgender, what it meant, how you could fix, not really fix, but to change yourself to feel better. I found out that testosterone and, the surgeries were possible and that these things would help and could help. And there were very few health risks involved with these things if you were a healthy person, which overall, generally, I'm healthy. Physically, I am very rarely sick. So I started looking into it more, and I found a gender therapist from a friend of mine. Once I found that therapist, I started transgender therapy or gender identity disorder therapy. And once I was diagnosed with gender identity disorder, she sent me my letter, testosterone letter, basically stating that I was able to start the hormone testosterone for treatment of, feeling this way, So once I was given that, I found a doctor finally. A couple, several months had passed by between that time of getting the letter and now, back in February of this year. And then, I started testosterone. There's a couple of things in between, but I'm making this video short for educational purpose. So once I figured, all that stuff out and I started getting the ball rolling, it took a lot of time, and I did come out to my parents. Between the time that I came out to my friends and family and now, starting like the day that I started testosterone, it was about 18, 19 months. Pretty much a year and a half to almost 2 years. It took a long time, and I dealt with a lot of struggles, but it is possible. It is very, very possible to be able to be who you are and to change what you feel. I struggled through a lot of things. I was diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia, which not everyone in this world has, but it's a common thing that people struggle with these mental disorders daily, and there isn't really much you can do other than take medicine and hope that that medicine works. Kind of, it's a struggle day in and day out with anyone and anything, and everyone has their own struggle, some greater than others. When you look at yourself and you realize things like, hey, I'm transgender, what do I do? It's a scary thought. Like, how do I begin? Where do I go? Who do I tell? And for the longest time, I had nobody there to help me. which is why I make these videos, because, you know, others need help. And this is what I want to do, is to help others with my story and my struggles and my journey in general. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you want to talk to me about, how I got started in any way possible, you can communicate with me on Facebook. You can add me as a friend on there, or you can just send me a message. You don't have to be a friend of mine on there to send me a message. You can send me a message on here on YouTube if you have an account, or I don't know how the messaging really works on here specifically, but you can send me a comment below on this video as well. I really hope that my story can inspire others, even when you live in a town of 50 people. I made it, and when you feel so disgusted with life that you cannot continue on, you need to change something, make a difference with what you're feeling. And that's what I did. I made a difference, and I don't regret any of it. I've had no regrets whatsoever in starting testosterone and doing this for myself. And personally, it has been the best choice for me. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I can say that I did struggle through a lot of different people, and I lost a lot of friends and some family members even. There will be struggles, and don't let those struggles stop you. Don't let the fear stop you, because if you let something stop you that's so important to you, and you let fear stop you, what are you going to accomplish in life if you continually let that fear stop you? Will you go to college? Will you do things that you want to do? Will you continue life the way that you want to, and do the things that you want to, if you have fear? And if you fear them, how do you get over it? And my best answer to that is let go. Let go of your anger towards people. Let go of your anger towards your parents, or any person that you may feel opposed to, aggression, whatever, to. And then personally, for yourself, let go. And realize that you have to do things for yourself sometimes, even if you don't want to. And my best opinion to you is to, if you cannot talk to your parents or friends, write them a letter on Facebook, type them a message or whatever, and send it to them. Or you can write them a handwritten letter, or type them a letter, print it out, and stick it on their nightstand or their pillow, or wherever they'll see it, and they can read it. And tell them to once they, at the bottom of it, just say, once you have read all this, come talk to me. Or these are all the things that I wanted to say. Now I want to know what you have to say, or something. Communicate somehow. Find a way, because if you don't, how do you start? Where do you start? And who do you go to? So really, these are my opinions and struggles and battles that I've had to go through. And altogether, it's been a long journey already, but it's been well worth it. And I can say that fear really isn't the thing that held me back. It was more or less the thought that I would fail, that I wouldn't make it. And those fears are irrational if you push forward and do what you want to do. So this is my advice to you all. Not a lot of great advice, but it's the best that I can give now. So I'll make a new video as soon as I can with any other updates. Alright, guys. Peace.